Most people believe lowering blood pressure requires exhausting workouts, strict diets, or adding more medications every year. But after speaking with hundreds of older adults over the years, I've noticed something important. Many people are trying very hard, yet missing a few surprisingly simple habits that may support circulation in powerful ways. And some of the most effective habits do not take an hour, they take minutes. A man named Arthur, age 68, once told me he assumed improving his blood pressure meant walking miles every day. But arthritis in his knees made long walks difficult, so eventually he stopped trying altogether. He felt discouraged, like his body was working against him. What surprised him later was learning that small, targeted routines sometimes matter more than people realize. Not extreme effort, not punishment, just smart consistency. Because after 60, the body changes. Blood vessels naturally become less flexible over time. Think of an older garden hose compared to a brand new one. A newer hose bends easily. Pressure moves through it smoothly. An older hose becomes stiffer. The same amount of water creates more pressure inside it. Blood vessels work in a similar way. And this is why many people over 60 notice rising blood pressure even when they haven't dramatically changed their lifestyle. The body itself is changing gradually. Now here's where things become interesting. Most traditional advice focuses on general activity. Walk more, move more, reduce stress. And yes, those things absolutely matter. But some exercises appear especially helpful for supporting blood vessel flexibility and circulation patterns. One category gaining attention is called isometric exercise. Now don't let the name sound intimidating. These exercises are actually very simple. A wall sit, a plank, holding steady positions for short periods of time. You are not jumping, not sprinting, not exhausting yourself. And yet research has shown these exercises may support healthy blood pressure patterns surprisingly well for many adults. Why? Because during these holds, muscles contract steadily for short periods. Then when the hold ends, blood flow returns strongly through the vessels. Over time, this repeated pattern may help support healthier vessel responsiveness. A woman named Carol, age 66, began practicing short wall sits in her kitchen while waiting for coffee to brew each morning. At first, she could barely hold the position for 20 seconds. That's normal. But little by little, her endurance improved. Several weeks later, she told me something unexpected. She felt steadier overall. Not just physically, calmer, more energized in the mornings. That's something many people don't expect. Small physical routines often affect the nervous system too. And that brings us to the second part of this discussion: breathing. Now I know breathing exercises sometimes sound too simple to matter, but the nervous system responds strongly to breathing rhythm. Especially after 60, many people stay stuck in a low-level stress state without realizing it. Even while sitting quietly, the body remains tense, heart rate stays elevated, blood vessels remain slightly tighter than they should. And over months and years, that constant tension matters. One of the simplest techniques involves slow, controlled breathing. In through the nose slowly, out through the mouth slowly. Nothing dramatic, just calm rhythm. A retired teacher named Elaine, age 70, started practicing slow breathing for a few minutes every morning after waking up. She described it as finally giving my body permission to relax. That sentence stayed with me, because many older adults have spent decades living under pressure. Responsibilities, stress, work, family worries. The body adapts to staying alert constantly, and sometimes it forgets how to truly relax. That's why intentional breathing can matter more than people expect. Not because it's magic, but because the nervous system listens to breathing patterns very closely. Now let's connect this to another issue many people overlook: hydration. A surprising number of older adults walk around mildly dehydrated every day without realizing it. And after 60, thirst signals often become less reliable. People simply don't feel thirsty the same way they did when younger. But hydration matters deeply for circulation. When the body lacks enough fluid, blood vessels may tighten and circulation becomes less efficient. Many people then assume their fatigue or headaches are unrelated, but small daily hydration habits can make a real difference over time. A man named Robert, age 72, admitted he often drank only coffee until late afternoon. Very little water. He simply forgot. Once he became more intentional about hydration during the day, he noticed his energy felt steadier and his afternoons became less draining. Again, no miracle, no overnight transformation, just better support for the body. And honestly, that's the recurring theme in healthy aging. The body responds surprisingly well to small supportive habits repeated consistently. Now, here's something important. The goal is not perfection. Many people hear health advice and immediately feel overwhelmed. They think they must change everything overnight. That approach rarely lasts. Consistency matters far more than intensity. A short routine repeated daily often becomes more powerful than ambitious plans people abandon after 1 week. That's why attaching new habits to existing routines works so well. For example, after brushing your teeth, do 2 minutes of breathing. While waiting for breakfast, practice a short wall sit. After morning coffee, drink a glass of water slowly instead of rushing through the morning. Small anchors create sustainable routines, and sustainable routines create long-term results. Now let's talk briefly about expectations. Some people expect instant dramatic changes after 3 days. That's not how the body works. Blood vessels adapt gradually. The nervous system adapts gradually. Healthy routines create momentum over time. A woman named Diane, age 69, once told me she almost quit after 1 week because she didn't feel different yet. But she kept going. Several weeks later, she noticed she was sleeping better, feeling calmer, and recovering faster during the day. Small changes compound quietly. That's how many meaningful improvements happen. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. Now let's continue with something many people misunderstand about blood pressure after 60. It's not only a heart issue, it's also a nervous system issue, a circulation issue, a recovery issue, a daily habit issue, and that's why quick fixes rarely work long-term. The body responds best to repeated signals, calm signals, movement signals, hydration signals, recovery signals. That's what these short routines are really doing. They are teaching the body a different pattern. A man named Frank, age 71, once told me he spent years believing his body was simply wearing out. But when he slowly introduced small daily routines, he noticed something surprising. His mornings felt more stable, not perfect, not dramatically different overnight, just steadier. And that matters more than people realize. Because many older adults stop trusting their bodies. They begin feeling fragile, limited, stiff. But the body is still adaptable after 60, very adaptable. It simply responds more slowly than it did at 30. That means patience becomes incredibly important. Now let's return briefly to isometric exercises, because many people make one important mistake. They try to do too much immediately. A full 2-minute wall sit sounds simple until someone actually tries it for the first time, and then frustration appears. Legs shake, breathing becomes tense, people assume they failed. But starting smaller is not failure. A 20-second hold counts. A 30-second hold counts. Progress matters more than intensity. A woman named Barbara, age 67, began with wall sits lasting only 15 seconds. That was all her knees tolerated comfortably. But every week, she added a little more time. Months later, she laughed while telling her daughter she could now hold the position longer than her grandson. That sense of progress matters emotionally too. Because confidence changes how people approach health. And confidence grows through consistency, not perfection. Now let's talk about stress for a moment. Not dramatic stress, quiet stress. The kind people carry every day without noticing anymore. Financial worry, loneliness, constant news, poor sleep, family tension. The nervous system absorbs all of it, and many older adults stay in a constant low-level stress response for years. The body never fully relaxes. Breathing stays shallow. Sleep becomes lighter. Blood vessels remain slightly tense. That's why slow breathing routines can feel surprisingly powerful. Not because they erase life's problems, but because they create moments where the body finally shifts into recovery mode. A retired nurse named Gloria, age 73, told me something beautiful after practicing slow breathing daily for several weeks. She said, "I didn't realize how tense I had been for years until my body finally relaxed." That's an incredibly important insight. Many people become so accustomed to tension that it starts feeling normal. Now let's return to hydration because this area is more important than most people think. Many older adults drink large amounts of water quickly, only when they suddenly feel thirsty. But spacing hydration gently throughout the day often works better for the body. Slow, steady hydration supports circulation more naturally. And surprisingly, small habits around drinking water can also influence how calm or rushed the nervous system feels. A lot of people rush through everything: meals, breathing, hydration, sleep. The body notices that pace. A slower pace sends different signals. That's why intentional routines matter. Now here's another important point. Many people quit healthy routines too early because they expect dramatic visible results immediately. But the body often changes quietly first. Better sleep quality, calmer mornings, less tension, steadier energy. Those subtle improvements matter. A man named Samuel, age 68, almost stopped his morning routine after 2 weeks because he thought nothing was happening. Then one morning his wife mentioned something before he did. "You seem calmer lately." He hadn't even noticed it himself yet. That's how gradual improvement often works. Other people notice first. Now I want to say something especially important for older adults listening to this. Your body is not asking for punishment, it's asking for support. There's a huge difference. Many people approach health with frustration and fear. They push too hard, expect too much, then feel discouraged. But sustainable routines come from cooperation with the body, not fighting against it. Gentle consistency almost always outperforms extreme effort over time. That's true for movement, breathing, hydration, sleep, all of it. Now before we finish, let's simplify everything into one realistic morning routine. First, a short isometric exercise. Maybe a wall sit, maybe a modified plank against the kitchen counter, nothing extreme. Second, a few minutes of slow, controlled breathing, calm rhythm, no rushing, no distractions. Third, intentional hydration, not chugging water while running out the door, just calm, steady hydration. That's it, simple, practical, repeatable, and perhaps most importantly, manageable. Because manageable routines are the ones people continue doing 6 months later. And 6 months of consistency changes the body far more than 3 days of extreme motivation ever will. Now let me leave you with this thought. Healthy aging is not about trying to become younger again. It's about helping the body function more comfortably and efficiently with the years you have now. That mindset changes everything. You stop chasing perfection. You start building support. And support creates resilience. Your heart is still working for you every moment of every day. Your blood vessels are still adapting. Your nervous system is still listening. Your body is still responding. Give it better signals consistently, and it often responds in ways that surprise people. One final reminder before we finish. Everything shared here is general educational information and should always be discussed with a healthcare professional, especially if you take medication or manage existing health conditions.